The regular meeting of the Belleville Township Board of Adjustment for September 7, 2017 will now come to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Caruso.
Here.
Giordano.
Here.
Casa.
Here.
Lozola. Here. Tucci. Sheldon.
Here.
Smith. Milano. Del Garcia.
Here. Will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Madam Secretary, has this notice been given under the Sunshine Law, please?
Certification of meeting has been advertised according to the Sunshine Law.
Okay. Minutes, anybody want to make any comments on the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes with no amendments? Okay. Seconded by Mr. Shelton. Clerk, call the roll.
Caruso.
Here.
Giordano.
Yes. Yes.
Casa.
Yes.
Lozola. Yes. Tucci. Sheldon.
Yes.
Milano.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes. Any applications for adjournment in the audience? Seeing no applications for adjournment. Everybody's looking at the resolution, so we'll do that after. Okay. First case on the agenda, let's get right to business. ZB 2017-009, 22 Heckel Street. Felix Lopez Montalvo, the applicant, is proposing to construct a new two-family dwelling on vacant lands. Pass this over, please.
Do we have notice and publication in this? Or have they submitted that?
Madam Secretary?
We okay on notice?
Yes.
All right.
We're all good. Everyone's good.
Okay. Advise we're good on notice and service.
I just tried to do this on.
Everybody testifying at once? I'm saying, is everybody testifying at once?
Well, let's find out what's going on first.
Okay. Give the attorney.
Good evening, for the record, Felix Lopez Montalvo, and I am not the applicant.
Why not?
I am the attorney for the applicant.
Oh, very well,
Okay.
very good.
The applicant is Mr. Highland Ave, who's present here tonight.
Sir, could I have your name, please?
Felix Lopez Montalvo. Felix is also pronounced Felix like the cat.
The owner or the attorney?
It's the
The
attorney.
attorney.
What's your name?
Your name.
Felix Lopez Montalvo.
That's the attorney.
For the
Oh,
last
okay.
16
All right,
years.
sorry. Oh, the reason I thought that was the applicant.
He introduced himself.
He'll
as the
vouch for
attorney.
me.
He introduced himself as the attorney. I'm not the applicant.
On the application, he's voted wrong.
It's incorrect on the
Incorrect on the application.
It's incorrect on the paperwork.
All right.
It's incorrect.
Got it. Okay.
No. I have a question before we start.
Sir,
Where does the applicant live?
let me just bring you up.
Why don't we do this? What's your game plan tonight? Did you intend to
I
call?
wasn't going to call the applicant because he has some difficulty with the English language. I can translate if you want to question him, I'll bring him up. I can question him or him as to where he lives currently. I believe he does live here in Belleville, and he intends to live on this property.
Oh, that we don't care about.
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
So who are your witnesses? And
My witness is Mr. LaFleur, who's standing to my left. He's the architect on the property, and that's the only way he can control.
and then we have a.
She is an employee.
Okay. So we have an architect. And is that going to be it unless the board wants to question your client?
Exactly, unless you
Okay.
decide to question my client, then we can swear him in and I'll interpret him.
All right. You raise your right hand, please. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I do.
Okay, and could you state your name, spell your last name, and please keep your voice up?
Okay. Joseph Osborne, A-S as in Sam, F as in Frank, O-U-R. I'm a registered architect, a licensed professional planner. I have office at 466 Bloomfield Avenue in Newark, New Jersey, and I've appeared before this board on a number
Yes, he
of
has.
occasions.
All right, so you're calling in for an architect, or as an architect and a planner?
Correct.
Okay. Very good.
Fine, I'd just like to make an opening statement if I may. Mr. Maldonado intends to have a two-family home built on this undersized lot if permitted. When we look at this thing, at the situation here, the lot is in a residential neighborhood. There are other two-family houses in the area on this particular block. There are no businesses. I think that this would improve the overall neighborhood. It's now a small, undersized lot that has had no use right now, and I don't think it could have any other use. It doesn't present any substantial detriment to the public, and I think it would be an undue hardship if Mr. Maldonado would not be able to build on this particular lot. Having said that, what I want to do is turn the floor over to Mr. LaFleur so that he can explain exactly how he intends to build this and what the setbacks would be on this particular lot.
I have to question you on what you said.
Sir?
First thing, you said it has no use.
Well, I don't see how,
He's a lawyer, Jerry.
I know. Well, if you're gonna testify,
I am not testifying.
well then why do you say it has no use?
Well, it seems to me that it has no use, but then Mr. LaFleur can speak to that.
That's testimony, I'm sorry, that's testimony.
Fine, then I'll withdraw the statement.
Thank you. Thank you. Because I have information that if it's not worth anything, explain to me how in 10 months it got sold 2 times.
I have no idea.
Well, I have no documents.
No, I'm just saying that, I mean, there's other options other than two-family.
Now, are you aware, I don't know if you're aware of this, that he's allowed to build a one-family and not have to come before this board?
I'm not an architect, and I'm not aware of that.
I didn't say that. You're
I'm
an
not aware-
attorney.
Sir, I'm not aware of that. That's-
Well,
yes,
I want to make you aware of it, that under our zoning law, because there was a previous one-family building there at one time, which I believe burned down in '97, you are allowed to build another one-family home without having to come before this board.
Within those same boundaries?
Why not?
No, he has to,
I don't, let me finish.
go ahead, Will.
I don't know how long it was, frankly, so it doesn't, if it's like an abandoned use for more than 2 years or whatever, can we still build a one-family without coming before this board?
There's an ordinance that there's different standards. If there was a house on it and there was a fire, 25 by 100 lots, they have to meet different standards, bulk requirement. If he meets that, he doesn't have to go in front of any board.
That was my point.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
That was exactly my
Okay,
point.
great.
So at this point, we really don't know whether it meets those standards, do we?
Well, you're doing two-family,
Yeah.
yeah, so
But I'm
it's only for one, so.
So we would have to go back and...
I'd have to see where you're fitting it and see if you meet the bulk standards.
Exactly,
If
so
you
at
did.
this time, we wouldn't know whether it meets the standards for one family. Thank you.
But we know you don't meet the standards
Standards
for
for
two-family, let's put it that
Well,
way.
that we know, that's why we're before you.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, just wanted to clear that up.
fine, it's clear.
Thank you. Go ahead, you may
Mr.
proceed.
LaFleur?
Yeah, okay.
He just, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sir?
He just testifying as an architect, not a planner, right? You're testifying
Just give me a
as,
second, sir. I just have to tune into your features.
oh, I'm sorry, my
Have I
apologies.
hear power?
Yeah, he's loud, I'm not that loud.
It's the frequency, it's not the noise level.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So my question was, your first witness is testifying as an architect only, correct?
No, architect and planner.
and plan,
Okay, that's what we have to know.
yes.
Okay, so what are you doing first?
I'm going to have them both intermingle because of the...
No, it's not the question. I said, what are you testifying to at first? As an architect first or a planner first?
Let me testify as a planner first.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
he wants to testify as an architect and a planner, and he wants to do the planning first, okay?
He can do it any order he wants.
I'm just letting you know.
Yes, and
Because
you have the
originally-
license for both, correct?
Yes, I do.
So,
Okay.
there's
And
no
they're
problem.
both in effect.
I have no problem with that.
Can you just-
Your attorney's the one who decides how you want to testify,
That's
not
fine,
us.
if he wants to testify at the planner first, then he can do so.
Okay.
Open the floor.
Okay. Now, what we have on Heckel Street
Could I ask that,
is
excuse me, could I
quite
ask
a
you,
mixture.
excuse me, could I just ask, is this, well, to be explained on the other side, we're videotaping the meetings and this is blocking most of the view.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, it could just be put on the other side of the room, thank you.
Mr. Ashmore, I am assuming that the document that your assistant is holding is what we have?
That's correct.
There's no changes?
No change.
All right, we don't need to mark it then.
Now, on Heckel Street, there are a multitude of architectural motifs. It's a very mixed design area in the neighborhood. There are also vacant lots, like the one on the corner here is vacant lot. The one on this corner is vacant lot. And I believe there's some more, but
Excuse me, sir, let me just- I'm not gonna do this.
okay, now, the variety of lot sizes on this street, on this side of the street, which is a short street, vary in size. We happen to be in the smallest lot size of the tax map for our particular application.
You're saying that's the smallest lot in that whole 200-foot area?
Yes, there may be one next to it that can also be a 25-foot wide lot. We didn't check it because we just looked at the tax map, and I never count on that.
Now, can I ask you a question based on that?
Yes, sir.
How old are those houses?
I'd say that a considerable number of them originated in the 50s, possibly in the 60s, possibly one or two before that. But they are not,
I don't think you're 100% right there. That's one of the oldest sections of
Little
town.
section of town.
oh, really, okay. Well, part of my testimony is the town was originally designed after the horse and wagon, which it has been.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the lots that had been subdivided at that time were in consideration of use by people that had a horse and wagon, not an automobile, that had to park off-street, otherwise there's no place to park.
Right.
Okay, so with that in mind, what we did is to get a three-bedroom apartment, a three-bedroom apartment with parking on site, is we had to use a building that was
So,
9
Right, you
feet.
can talk.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but is this planning testimony or architecture? You tell me on the building. I'm gonna tell you,
Well,
I'm looking for you to tell me why I should allow you to put a two-family there, and you're going to the structure of the building. At this point, I'm not looking at structure.
well,
I'm
there
looking
are-
for your planning testimony.
Okay, there are other buildings on similar lots with two-family on it. I believe the one on the left of the lot is a two-family lot.
And when was that house built?
Yeah, when was that built?
I don't really.
But I can tell you that whole neighborhood
Yeah.
goes back to the turn of the century, the 19th to the 20th, not the 20th to the 21st. That I can tell you. That's how old all those buildings are,
Okay.
okay? And if you want to give testimony, you should have done your homework and go check. If you're going to mention a house next door, you should have checked when that was built. If it was previous to the zoning law, previous to the master plan, everything.
Okay, they look to me like they were built in the 1950s, but they could have been built before.
I think way before 1950.
Listen,
Go ahead.
I can't see how you... Go ahead.
Okay.
Your testimony.
We have provided two cars parking. That's good for the planning aspect of the building because we're providing on-site parking.
2 parking spaces?
Yes.
How many
You
of these?
realize you required 4 for a 2-family.
We're asking for a 2-car variance. We have 2 cars on site. If you look at going for 4 cars for this particular building, you would have no backyard.
You wouldn't have no backyard.
That's correct.
Now, let me ask you one more question.
Yes.
Do you realize that under our zoning law, the minimum requirement for a 2-family is double the size of your lot?
Yes, I'm aware it's a 50-foot requirement.
Okay. 50 by 100, yes.
That's correct. Okay, well, this is what we have in a 1- and 2-family neighborhood. Now, I'm trying not to say that it isn't the applicant's fault that he bought an undersized lot. The undersize of the lot was,
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. When I go to buy a lot, I go and see what it's zoned for first. It's not that it's not his fault. He decided to buy a lot that's only zoned, not even for a 1-family. Now, I'm going to admit to you, we cannot prevent him from developing the lot. But what I'm saying is to develop the lot way over what is allowed, you have to justify that, sir.
And that's what I'm waiting for.
And you can't say it's not his fault. He decided to buy the lot. I'm not the one who told him to go buy the lot. And from all the documents we have, that lot was sold 2 times within 10 months. I'll even give you the price if you want. Okay? 10 months after it was sold the first time, it was sold for an additional $30,000 according to the records.
Anyway, let him finish his testimony.
Let him testify.
let me ask for a recess now, because I was trying to put a story together in presentation, and I've been interrupted about 4 or 5,
Well, sir, it's not that we want stories, we want facts.
Okay,
We don't want stories. This
Okay.
board don't listen to stories. It only listens to facts, sir.
okay, can I have a timeout, 5 minutes or so?
You want a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, give him a recess.
Good, I can go to bed. Okay, well, it's 5-minute recess, because I rushed right on. We know when we're ready here. Go back on the record.
Ready.
Okay. The Belleville Zoning Board of Adjustment for the Township of Belleville, for its meeting of September 7th, 2017, is now back in session. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, confirmed with my client and with the architect, at this time we're going to withdraw this application. I will be in contact with the city on Monday and see what we can do about
So you want to withdraw without prejudice, correct?
without prejudice.
All right, okay. So ZB 2017 -003, 22 Heckel Street, Felix Lopez Montalvo. This case is being...
No, it's not his name.
Jaime Maldonado, Felix Lopez Montalvo, attorney.
That's
Isn't he the owner?
No, it's
Jaime
his name.
Maldonado is the owner. Who's on first? I'm here.
I don't know. All right, let me ask you a question. Now, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Is Jamie Montalvo,
Jaime Maldonado, Maldonado.
Maldonado, I'm sorry, Jamie Maldonado?
Jaime Maldonado.
Hyman? And Olga Ruiz?
Jaime Maldonado is the owner.
No Olga Ruiz.
Jaime Maldonado.
I'm just saying by what's on the tax record, that's all I'm asking.
Jaime Maldonado, that may be the previous owner.
No, it shows them both as the owner.
It shows them both as the
Maybe
owner.
husband and wife.
Yeah,
Right.
so the application is being withdrawn without prejudice?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't need to vote for that, do you? No, okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That was over.
Good luck to you. Next case on the agenda is, no, not this,
It's home.
yeah. ZB 2017-010, 13 Highland Avenue, Salvatore Gaglio. The applicant is proposing to convert the existing 4-family dwelling into a 5-family dwelling. The 5th unit would be located on the ground level.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Paul Santambrogio, the attorney for Salvatore Gaglio, the applicant in this matter.
Okay, before we proceed, I would like to swear in Mr. Harretts and Mr. Di Lorenzo.
Gentlemen,
Please
if you
swear
could
to
put
me.
your hands up, please, with regard to this application. You swear the testimony you're about to give or may give shall be the truth. Now, please, Mr. Harretts, our board planner and engineer, and Mr. Di Lorenzo, the zoning officer. Are we okay with notice?
Yes.
All right.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. This is not so much a conversion as an application to sanction what exists and what has existed since actually 1976. This property was the subject of a zoning board application back at that time, and your predecessors granted my client's parents permission to construct the multifamily home there, 4 units.
Four years.
4 units. Writing your resolution should be attached to the application.
The resolution I am looking at,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to find where it says 4 units. Unless there's a page here missing, which may be a page in between the signatures and the cover page.
I have that for you, but there's no question, and the CO was issued for only 4 units.
For 4 units.
Yes, no question about it.
Now, I have a question based on your application that you filed. And in your application, let me find the page, because I was reading it. Section 6, project narrative. The applicant's parents built the building in approximately 1976 as a 4-family home. The applicant's father, after discussions with the then municipal tax assessor, began using the property as a 5-family home, and it's been used as a 5-family home continuously since the time without interruption. Applicant seeks a use variance to permit the continuation of its historical use. There is no physical or structural modifications planned for the footprint of the building or the site. That's what's on here.
That's the application.
Well, I have a question.
We didn't even get started.
Well, I mean, you know,
Well, we're questioning the application.
I'm sorry. Well, how can you question, the application is what it is. That's my scripting what I understand the situation is, which Mr. Salvatore Gaglio finds himself in the year 2017.
Now, what's his father's name?
Dominic.
Is he still alive?
Yes.
I think we should swear him in though first.
Sure.
Thank you.
Want to stand up?
Well, what's your case going to be? Just the applicant?
Well, I do have a professional planner.
Both?
No, just one at a time.
One at a time.
Whoever you want to call first.
We're going to be calling Mr. Gaglio first.
Okay, could you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, so help you God? State your name and spell your last name, please.
My name is Salvatore Gaglio, Gaglio.
Thank you.
In the interest,
Oh, wait, go ahead, Mr.
I know you get a little nervous because
I am nervous when I
said I
am at a zoning board meeting, especially this board. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
that's good, I'm glad.
That's because he's got experience with it.
Yes. My question is, and I want to make sure I heard you correctly, that your premise was that it was being legally used as 5 families.
No, and I think you, respectfully, wait for the testimony, because he's going to say, your predecessors approved 4. His father, 40 years ago, started using it as a 5.
On his own.
On his own.
Right,
According to Salvatore, his 80-something-year-old father,
yes.
when inquired, when I said, Sal, how are we going to say to the board this happened?
Good question.
What did your father do or say? And he'll testify because you only want facts.
Right.
Dad said, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's how I understood it.
Okay.
So when we made this application, I summarized it in paragraph 6 as I understood it to be.
As it was told to you.
Yes, sir.
And my only question to that is, you as an attorney, I understand what your applicant thought and his father thought. As a layperson, I get that, okay? I'm asking you as an attorney, right? Is your position saying that since they used it as a five-family with permission from the tax collector, which has no relevancy whatsoever, means that it was legally used?
Well, I'll answer it this way.
Please.
I think it's very germane to the determination that we're asking you to make as it relates to the negative criteria that this condition has been in this status before any of us had gray hair. As I was thinking about 1976, I was in high school. So, of course, part of the applicant's burden is that we don't cause a substantial burden or interfere with the zone plan or the community. And the fact that it's existed, I think, is without interruption with municipal inspections, with taxing as 5, with the registration with the DCA. Yes, sir. That's part of the application. So I realize, to answer your question, I understand just because you talked to the tax assessor or whatever Mr. Dominic Gaglio did, the father,
Right. Which
it's
I
not
believe-
permitted.
I believe he
You've
did.
got a resolution clear
Is
as
Mr.
day.
Dominic here tonight?
He's not here, he's elderly and he's starting to become infirm.
Okay, now let me ask him. Did he turn the property over to his son, or is it still?
I was going to ask him, the second question I was going to ask him.
Okay, good.
Let him go.
Okay.
Salvatore, where do you reside?
4 Irving Street in Belleville.
And you're the owner of this property.
Yes,
And how did you become the owner of the property?
I inherited it in 2012 when my mother passed away.
So it had been in your mother's name and then you inherited when she passed?
Correct.
Okay. And how long have you been familiar with the property?
I helped my father build it 41 years ago, 42 years ago.
When did the ownership switch from the father to the mother, or if it was in both names, only to her?
I can answer that from my recollection as their attorney. There was some estate planning reasons to put it in mom's name, which I would estimate for you, Mr. Chairman, as being 9 or 10 years ago. Put it in mom's name, and then sadly, mom passed first. Her will left it to Salvatore. It's Salvatore. So, and your dad does own the 12-unit apartment building across the street, is that
Yes.
correct? And you've been active with that in terms of maintaining the premises, collecting rent and managing, is that right?
They're about every Saturday taking care of it.
Okay. So to your, what is your testimony as to your knowledge of how long this subject building has been used as a 5-family, 5 different apartments?
Ever since I can remember, it's probably 40 years ago. Started to use.
Okay. And the board has your floor plans, but are they all 1-bedroom units?
Yes,
And I don't mean to testify, but you're registered with the state as a 5-family with the Department of Community Affairs?
yes,
The township of Belleville taxes you as a 5-family,
yes.
but it's clear that it's not been lawfully used as a 5-family, and that's why we're here tonight, correct?
Correct.
Are there children in this apartment building?
No,
Have you experienced problems with parking or things of that nature due to the fact that there are 5 rather than 4 apartments there?
no, never, never. Typically, we rent to single people. And there have been children there probably in the last over 15 years, maybe about 18 years.
Are you familiar with the apartment building adjacent to yours, as you face yours from Highland Avenue, from the street? There's an apartment building to the right, is that correct?
Yes,
And is that also on the same size lot as yours?
yes it is.
And the footprint of that building is roughly the same as yours?
Yeah, within inches probably, very, very close to the same size.
And do you know how many units or how many apartments are in that building immediately adjacent to yours?
Yes, there's 9.
If the board were to look favorably upon your application to sanction what's occurred historically, albeit unlawfully, would you expect to make any physical changes to the, unless the board conditioned an approval upon it, to the exterior of the premises,
No,
or
no.
interior?
The property's maintained as well as it can be maintained. I don't really see any need for any changes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is very well maintained.
It is.
Thank you.
Yes, I will admit.
Thank you.
It is.
That's progress.
If I may,
You may.
may I ask you?
Yes, sir, I'm done asking questions. Thank you.
Can I ask him?
Of course, whatever you wish.
So, regarding the green cards that you get, the green card, the state inspection, you have, when was the last one? You have copies of it, and how long have you been doing that?
If I can just jump in, there should
Yeah,
be a
sure.
copy of that in your application.
That's all I was looking for.
And if not, I apologize, I will get it for you.
I didn't see any of it.
Okay.
And when you look at the tax, do you know, off the top of your head, how long you've been paying taxes as a five-family, even though it's really not relevant, but out of curiosity?
When I inquired about it after I found out that I needed to come before the board, I went down to the tax office and they looked it up and they found records back to 1977.
So you're paying five-family taxes since 1977. They're kind of, okay.
Excuse me, I have a copy of a Department of Community Affairs certificate of registration. I apologize, I thought it was appended to your application.
And what does it say, how many years?
5.
Oh, I need to know.
Well, you also asked for how long, or did I have a reason?
Yeah.
But I would,
That's fine.
if you don't have it as part of
No, I
your
don't.
record, then I would like to
You can submit
include
to
it
me.
as A2 if the application is A1.
Does anybody else have it? I don't.
I don't.
I really apologize. I do have it. Can we call that A2,
County
Council?
Market A2, and what would that be again?
The certificate of registration with the Department of Community Affairs, where, they come periodically to inspect,
5 years.
and it indicates 5 years.
Oh, thank you.
Now, if I may,
Yes, you may.
the other question is what you're calling the ground level apartment, right? How do you get to it? If I look in the front door, how do I get to it?
You walk, after going into
Go up,
go up the steps, you go up about 5 steps, you go down 5 steps.
up steps, fine. So why would you call that ground level?
Because it actually is on the ground level in the front of the building,
Mhm.
and then there's a slight incline upward to the parking lot from the parking.
It's a topology.
From the driveway.
Yeah, I
So
see the
it's
drawing.
about 30% underground in the back, so it's roughly 2/3 above ground in the back, and in front of the building, it's ground level. So it's gradually inclined.
So the windows, for example, it looks like they were actual regular sized windows,
They
right?
are.
And so,
Did you,
I have it,
you have photos of the windows
I have it.
as part of your application?
So my question.
Color one.
My question would be, and Mr. Di Lorenzo, I'll ask you, do one of the windows have to be that 5.7 size windows? You'll answer that? Okay, that's fine. I'll wait till you're,
It is in the review.
yeah, I know, I'm looking at pictures and I'm good, but I'm not that good what to say. That's a 5.7 window. So I'll wait till you're architect. Okay, that's it.
I have a question, number. The property across the street, is that still in your father's name?
Yes.
And I have a second question. Have you converted that to condos?
It was always condominiums. It was built
It was built as condominiums?
condominiums, right?
Well, and he owns 11 of the 12 units? Only one unit has been sold?
Correct.
And it was built in what year was condominium?
1981, 82.
So you're saying it's been built 30 years ago, or 35 years ago?
32, 33 years ago.
But you've only sold one unit, the other units you kept in your father's
We
name?
actually had sold 2 units. My father wanted to keep the building. He likes to maintain it and keep everything as in good condition as possible. So he likes to have as many units in his name, so he bought it back.
He bought it back. I don't know if you heard that last.
Yes, I heard that.
So technically, there's only one person there besides your father?
Yeah, they've been there
Because
since-
I noticed it on the notices, that in that building, unlike this building, every apartment got a notice. And, but I have another question. Okay. And have you reviewed Mr. Di Lorenzo's denial?
The date of May 11th?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
On number 2 of the second page, do you see what it says there?
Exterior windows and doors of all units must be positioned so that the sills are at least 12 inches above the adjacent ground level. Makes sense to prevent floodwater, melting snow from entering, and it's not in compliance.
Exactly. That is, and actually, right at those windows, or actually to the window if you're facing the apartment to the left, if you're in the yard, it's to the right, you heat that building by oil, don't you?
Yes.
And there is an oil tank in the yard right close to the building.
Yeah, it's probably about 10 feet away, 10 to 12 feet.
Well, I don't even think it is 10 feet away, because that's not what a spout is where you put the oil in.
Yeah, I'm going by just,
Okay. I'm just bringing it up. I'm just bringing it, and it's a little bit at a higher level, too. It's up a little bit, like a hill, slight hill.
Mr. Chairman, just in regard to your question about the height of the windowsills,
Yes.
I'm relatively confident that if the board were to see fit and grant the relief, that the applicant would do what's necessary to, I'm not a mechanic, I don't know if that's difficult, but I mean, to do what could be, whatever you can do to comply with that, so that the rainwater doesn't go in there, although apparently it hasn't
If I
for
may-
4 years.
if I may, we've never had any rainwater, and it actually measures about 10 inches. It's about 2 inches shy.
Mr. Di Lorenzo, let me ask you a question, since you're already sworn in. Is there any records from when this was approved back in the 70s?
Yeah, there's a CO that was approved for 4 units, in the variance.
But I mean, is any plans available
No,
that show what was really supposed to be in that basement
no, I don't
when
have
it
any,
came before the board?
no, I don't have any plans, because the fire, I guess, back at Public Works in the late 70s, burned all the files down.
Right.
In other words, I shouldn't have submitted that resolution as part of the application.
Well, we have that.
We have that. We have at least part of the resolution.
Just kidding.
I'm thinking some part of it might be missing. Okay, so there's really, a number of reasons why this doesn't, well, part is the density, part is the level of the windows. Let's see.
That's why it doesn't meet the conditions.
Is that unit 100 square feet?
You need your floor plan?
Wait, let me see. No habitable room in the basement shall be less than 100, and no dwelling unit shall contain less than 300. Is that unit 300 square feet at least?
It's well over that, well over.
47 by 36, I don't have my calculator.
Okay.
The floor plan.
No, it's the top one, yeah. And the density. Both.
Yes.
All right. You can continue.
I don't have any other more questions of this witness.
Any board members have questions?
No, I'll wait for
You'll wait. Any members of the public have questions of this witness based upon testimony given? No. Then you may call your next witness.
Thank you. Sal, have a seat, relax. Good job.
With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, so help you God?
So help me God.
Why don't you state your name, spell your last name?
My name is Frank, middle initial D, Mileto, M-I-L-E-T-O, 14 Beaverbrook Drive, Long Valley, New Jersey.
And
I'm a licensed architect and planner since 1972, a licensed planner since 1974.
it. He's been here before.
Yes, he's been here.
we've accepted your credentials before, I believe.
We've seen him later.
So you're satisfied with his credentials?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was my first question.
No problem.
Okay.
Once it's covered.
Okay,
Um,
you want to just,
I'm going to ask you 2 quick questions and then you can run.
good, because I'd like to.
Mr. Mileto, did you study the Belleville zoning ordinance and the, Mr. Di Lorenzo's letter of denial, and actually go to the premises and view the premises in preparation of your testimony?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell the board what you did? Can you embellish on that a little bit and share with the board your opinion as they relate to this application?
I'll first do a little of the architectural testimony to try to get answers. The existing building, in its current condition, has no evidence whatsoever of any alterations that have been done since the 70s, since it was originally built. The walls downstairs in that unit that's in question on the ground level are the same trim, doors, hardware as the rest of the building. That indicates to me that's when it was done, shortly thereafter the completing of construction. That being said, just for the history of it, it's been there, and I questioned my client about if there's ever been any incidents, violations, or any of those kinds of things stated against the application or the piece of property, and the answer is unequivocally no, and I can see why. As everybody noticed, or whoever traveled near the building, it's very well maintained. It's all brick, it's all very easily maintained. Part of that is the responsibility, by the way, that wasn't mentioned, of the operator, or the applicant tenant on that ground level unit. That's who he is. He takes the garbage out, he shovels the snow on the driveways and so on. So he has a dual purpose, and he gets a reasonable rental because of that. So he's kind of...
So you're saying he's the janitor?
There. I'm sorry?
He's the janitor.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Superintendent, whatever you want to call it.
He's the maintenance engineer.
There you go.
Anyway, that being said, that's the history of it. It's been used over 40 years, never been an issue. It has multifamily access around him, next door, across the street. It's a neighborhood of multifamily units in the same street, in that same neighborhood. So he's in character with the rest of the neighborhood. There's been never any negative impact on any of the surrounding properties, whether it was 4 families or 5 families. As far as it provides full use of the structure, as you can see from the ground floor plan, there's a 1-car garage existing there now. There's a boiler room and mechanical, and the rest of it's utilized by a very nice 1-bedroom unit. If you look at the size of the rooms, they're very nice standards for today's living standards. I inspected the windows and the egress situation on the windows. Calculation, because they're double-hung windows, you only get half of the window, even though the whole window is more than the 5.7 required. So the type window is going to have to be changed in the bedroom only to a casement window, which opens full, so you get a whole full opening. And that was adopted by the fire people when we got rid of fire escapes. The history of that egress window came because of that, so that a fireman can go in and rescue with a backpack on his back and get in and out of that window safely. So that wasn't the case when this building was built. That happened after 70. So that one window will have to be changed out. That's all. Take the double hung out, put in a casement, same opening, because they don't want to ruin the brick and so on, and it worked very well. The other issue is the issue of the building code issue of the height of the sills above the grade, or there's a minimum building code grade. Frank indicated that it's 12 inches. My memory tells me it's 8.
No, it's zoning. We're talking zoning.
Oh, zoning
That's zoning.
controls the height of the buildings.
Just on conditional use, that's why. That's part of the conditional use.
Okay,
Don't
that's
intertwine
unique to
them.
Belleville then.
Don't mix
because-
them in, yeah.
Okay,
Keep them.
so we can accommodate that. We can lower the grade down that 1.5 inches when we make the window change, and we will satisfy it if necessary. Or if the board chooses to waive it because we're only 1.5 inches short, it's been there for 40 years, there's never been an issue with water. It does drain away from the house, the building. The parking lot drains away and then around the side, so it's not an issue where you have water building up against it. It's been inspected as indicated by DCA over the years, as well as the local inspectors, and I'm sure when they do a reassessment, eval of the job by the assessment department. They inspect it too, and they tell you if there's anything unsafe or illegal, they should be doing that. And the final document I think that needs to be presented is the planning portion of it. And I've reviewed both the zoning ordinance and the master plan. And in the master plan, I'll quote from it, it says to continue to encourage a wide variety of housing types at a range of sale and rental levels so that all types of families and all income groups can be housed in Belleville to provide for residential growth at a current density and permit, high-density development in limited areas during the time span of this master plan from 2014 to 2018. What I glean out of that is the mayor and council feel, and the planning board when they reviewed the master plan, that there are some areas that do deserve and do need higher density than what's under the ordinance, which is 12 units an acre, which would bring us to a two-family lot.
There's other parts of town where it's way higher.
Also, exactly.
So they did take that.
And that's why that language is exactly that way. It says, let's look at the area. You got a 12 unit across the street, you got a 9 unit next door. The density is there, and peacefully. That's the wonderful thing I like about it. Zoning and planning, in my opinion, as both a planner and as an ex-zoning officer for the city of Clifton for 15 years, zoning ordinances are meant to allow use of the property without disrupting the peace and tranquility of the neighborhood or the municipality. This proved itself in 40 years. There's been no headaches. There's been no issues. It doesn't meet the ordinance specifically, but I think it certainly meets the spirit of it. It's not a detrimental situation. Granting this would not impair the intent and purpose of the master plan or the municipal land use law. It can and should be granted to allow this building to continue to be operated the way it has been for the last 40 years and allow him to maintain it. Short of that, if the board denied it, that space would be wasted. And that's not a good purpose of good planning. Good planning is to use the building to the proper use. And in my opinion, it's the proper use. It works, it looks, the plan is very nice. So that's my testimony.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Question.
We do not know how it was presented to the board back in the 70s.
Right.
What was supposed to be in that basement. Now, I know there is 2 washers in the wash area in the front on the left.
Yes.
But he may have just said that was going to be a whole basement used for utilities and laundry and whatever. Apparently, there was no contemplation of an apartment being put there. The other concern I have is, we see how high the sill is on the outside, but we don't know how high it is on the inside because we weren't able to get into the apartment. When we went there, me and Mr. Shelton both went there together.
The International Building Code requires a maximum height of 44 inches from the floor up. It's my estimate and testimony that this sill is less than 44 inches off the finished floor.
Mr. Di Lorenzo, have you been able to get into that apartment to see?
No, we'd have to go in there and measure, the
Right.
architects give us a certification on it.
Could I interrupt a second?
Sure, go ahead.
My client, on this important topic, is prepared to testify as to the height of the sill from the interior. And I would add on to that the fact that the municipality, on the vacating of the unit by one tenant, does, through the zoning, rent leveling board, and my client participates in that program and has, and that apartment has been inspected and approved. So I'm not
For a
saying,
CO?
Because that's rent control.
No, that's rent control, but what I'm saying is, how does it
for
be
the
inspected? Who inspects
habitability
it?
of it.
Listen, every time a tenant's changed when it's under rent control, he has to get a CO from Frankie's office, correct, Frank?
Yes, if they come in.
Right.
Yes, and
And he said,
he's one of the guys who comes in
He said he's
and it's passed.
Well, then how did it pass if the sill on the outside is under?
No,
It's a habitability
Habitability.
issue and
You're
not
talking
a,
about, wait a minute, you
sure.
guys are talking about two different things. The building
Yeah.
code can't mix in with the zoning code. The building code will take effect. If this gets approved, they come in and file for anything with me. Not at this level, it doesn't.
habitability, Jerry.
Okay, now, the building code, is the building code
No.
48 inches?
When
From
he's
the
saying,
floor, I'm asking Frankie now.
that's
No,
it.
Jack,
44.
44, but it's not this board's, you can't handle that at this end. We handle it.
I agree, but what I'm saying is that is the building code requirement, correct?
Correct. There's other things that has to be involved in it too, that's, you'd have to
When he
get
comes
involved
in,
in it.
He would
listen,
have- he would
let's just
have-
say we
Oh, you
say
have to come
yes.
in and take a
We
say
permit, and
yes,
have to,
right?
you'd have to
He
get an
still has to
architect.
comply with Frankie's,
Right.
With the ordinance.
that's it.
Okay.
So we can say yes all we want.
Well, I didn't want to know if it was, now, the other thing is something you mentioned. You mentioned that only the bedroom sill has to be raised.
No, that's the window.
Bedroom.
That's the
you
window.
looking at me or?
The window.
Window.
Yes, the
But
bedroom
that's not what Frankie put in the denial. It said
No, no, no.
exterior windows.
Two different
plural.
things. Two different things.
What is it?
One is the height of the sill on
Right.
the outside.
Right.
When he's talking about, in 5.7, I was talking about in square footage,
Less than a
to
five.
get in and out from the fiber, the Scott pack.
Yes.
He has to change the style of window to have the whole window open.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But I thought he said the sill has to be only raised, sill, not the window.
2 inches.
Only raised in the bedroom,
Still
No.
That's right.
not the living room.
No,
There's two
well,
windows back there.
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
raised for the outside level.
The exterior of the windows does not comply with the zoning ordinance 12 inches. They're lower than that, they're less than that.
Right.
So if the board does not grant us a waiver of that design standard, then we will have to lower the macadam enough to comply with that 12 inches. We are asking for a waiver of that 1.5 inches on the exterior
That's what he was talking
issue.
Yes.
Now, on the interior, that's a building code issue,
about. That's Frankie's.
which
That's what we handle.
Frank and I will deal
That's
with
right.
at the building code time, but to answer your question, the inside cannot exceed 44 inches building code-wise, from the sill to the floor, so that a person could climb out if he can, or that a fireman, when he comes in, doesn't fall more than 44 inches.
Which is 3.5
To
feet,
do so,
correct?
that's it.
That's 3.5 feet. Or around,
Yeah.
close.
3 to 8
44
A
inches.
little over, 8 inches.
Wow, 42 inches is not a big deal.
And 42 is 3, all right, I'm off by 2 inches.
And the 12 inches, this is why we're here, for the conditional use. So
Right.
he's here for the variance for the conditional use that he doesn't meet.
Right,
Okay.
to avoid having to rip up the macadam and serve no real purpose.
Okay. Any questions about this witness by members of the public? Or any other members of the board?
Are you done?
Are we
Pretty
done?
much done.
Are you completed with Mr. Milano?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, do you wish to sum up? Or,
I think the board understands what the issues are.
wait, one second. Does any member of the public wish to give testimony on this application? None, okay, go ahead.
No, I mean, you all understand what the issue is. Something happened, we cannot go back, it wasn't Sal's fault, but whatever it was, it's been extant for that length of time, and apparently it's been flourishing as a independent building. They're not in trouble with the town, they maintain it as you saw. Every time somebody vacates, they come and ask for the habitability inspection, etc. There aren't parking problems apparently. There aren't children there, nothing wrong with children. But I mean, it's not, at least in its present state, not putting a burden. They're all one-bedroom units. And I just hope the board would grant the relief in the application and allow things to continue. There will be no disturbance of the neighbors or construction or anything of that nature. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's wrong, right? I'm just trying to, I'm confused, that's wrong.
No, it's what's allowed. We should have the word allowed.
What? The allowed is 12, but you don't need a variance.
You don't need a variance if the lot is 12 and proposed is 5.
No, that's why we're
No,
here.
no.
We're here for the conditional use. We're here for the D variance.
No, Frank.
Frank, there's some confusion here.
Yeah, Frank,
Yeah.
stand up, I'll show you.
Top line.
Top line.
The way it's worded.
Where it says 12 per acre, 5 per acre.
That isn't, that lot is not an acre, I can tell you that right.
You gotta look at the conditions.
No, well, it says 12 allowed.
12 required, proposed 5. Yeah, I think if you looked at Mr. Howard's report, you would
It
get your
says,
answer.
it implies that 5 is greater than 12, it's not.
Required is 12,
Right,
and proposing 5.
right, but that's less than what's required.
So that's why he's variance.
If it's less, why would you need?
No, no,
It's
no.
less than what's permitted.
Let's make this easy, let's make this easy. Go to Mr. Howard's report. On the second page, okay, the density. 5 units are proposed,
Right.
and only 1.38 units are allowed based upon the size of the lot,
That's more like it.
okay?
That's worded incorrect.
Yes, I agree, it's worded incorrect.
Well, yeah, 5 are proposed, but 4 have been there for
No,
prior, 4 have been there pursuant to.
density I'm talking about, density.
Yes, yes, 4 were there.
In other words, if this was
What you had to
being,
do,
if this was being built from the get-go, only 1 unit would be allowed
that's
technically,
right, that's the
Yes.
point,
okay?
that's the point.
Yes.
So,
You got that right, so there's no confusion anymore? Very good. Now, gentlemen, and lady and gentleman, lady and gentleman. What do you propose to do? Discussion.
from my point, well, I'm looking at the notes here, and the majority of what the asking variances are pre-existing in majority when the building was built. So I don't know what the zoning ordinances were back in 1976. You know, I don't know what they were, they could have been stricter or what, but the bottom line is, they're not changing any densities as far as the building is concerned. Pervious coverage, nothing.
No.
So the only issues from my perspective is, and this goes into my, and I don't normally say this, is, and we all know how I feel about how a property is maintained, because we had a case that was a bigger unit, and part of my testimony or discussion was, the person wanted more than what he was getting, but yet wasn't maintaining what he had already. So that, to me, I put some weight to that, you know? So from that perspective.
And I want to testify that there is 5 parking spaces in the back.
Right, and well, that being required, I mean, obviously, that was a pre-existing also from the previous original construction.
Still needs a variance though.
You need a variance, no doubt. So.
But at least there's 1 per unit, and there's the garage. Well, I don't know who's using the garage, that I don't know.
Nobody uses the garage.
It's just empty? Or is it used for the equipment to maintain the property?
There's some equipment, shovels,
Snow blower or something, whatever's needed to maintain the property?
yeah.
There's one driveway space in front of the garage door.
Yeah, there's one driveway space in front of the door that's.
Yes, there is.
So, from my perspective too, you know, that's something that the client might, or the applicant might think about. You know, I don't know what the parking situation is there, you know, but that's something that we might want to use as a visitor spot or something to alleviate, if there is, being that there's only 5 and you need 10, you know, something that would be good to give us, if you will, is the possibility of that being used as visitor spots and not put those cars on the street.
Or it could be a handicap spot.
Or a handicap.
That's the only way into the building. There's no way out in the back. There's no hallway that opens in the back.
Or a handicap spot.
No, you can't do handicap, bro.
I'm sorry?
That's handled at the building code level. You can't, guys,
Okay.
you can't.
Well, then I would just leave it up to whatever they want to do.
Whatever's been working.
About maintenance though.
Well, I didn't. So my point, I guess my point is, whenever it's used at, Frank, you know, whether it's a regular parking spot, any kind of relief when it comes to parking is always welcomed. You know, we're adding 1 more unit legally, if you will. I don't see what's wrong with it. You know, if you increase the parking a little bit, that can't be a detriment. how it's done, obviously it's handled by Frank. Yes.
I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't require the driveway to be listed as any type of thing, because you've got to remember something. If the person who lives on the ground floor, this questionable apartment, is the one who maintains the property, he would need access to the garage if the garage has equipment in, like snow blowing
Well,
and
that's
stuff
the
to do.
point, that's the point.
So I would say only he could use that
Well,
driveway.
you can make it where it's the, well, you can make it the super spot.
Yeah,
It still alleviates a spot out of the
super
five.
spot, yeah. That could be a super spot, and that way there would be an extra spot in the yard, because they're all one-bedroom units, they're not two-bedrooms.
You know, but it's still required 1.8 spots.
Actually, there are ordinances too.
Two.
It's 10, I mean, 10 altogether.
The issue with the windows,
Yeah.
the level from the ground.
That's Frank's.
In the back.
That's Frank's anyway.
That was
I don't
Frank's.
think that should be a problem, because obviously.
Are you talking about the outside thing?
So it's the level to the ground, to the windowsill, it's maintained with all these years.
If it
I
has,
can tell you right now, it's a very well-maintained building,
I-
extremely well-maintained. And it looks like he built it, and even though he was only approved for 5, he decided on his own to slip a 5th in there, because the mailboxes, there's 5 mailboxes with bells.
yeah,
There's no extra been put there. You could tell if an extra was
I
put
can't
there, and it
tell.
wasn't.
I don't know what it's like.
Your father was a little sneaky, I think.
Hardworking.
Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, with regard to the exterior issue of 12 inches,
That's part of the
Between the
conditional
sill.
use.
that's within our bailiwick, so we either grant a waiver for that. I
And
think
my-
he's like an inch or an inch and a half short. We either grant a waiver for that, or if we don't, they have to lower the cabin by an inch and a half, 2 inches.
It's a variance, it's a conditional use.
Right,
So it's
so
a
we-
conditional use, that's why he's here.
We could-
Right,
For that.
no, I know that, but we need to address that in
Okay.
terms of a decision, I would think.
You want to you can either leave
grant a
it,
waiver and he keeps it as it is, or if we require the 12 inches, then they have to come up with 12
Well,
inches.
whether it's a variance or a waiver or whatever, from my personal opinion, if it hasn't flooded in 41 years,
Okay,
I don't think it's really an issue.
all right.
But the other thing is that window would have to be changed, that's.
Casey.
That's Frankie's.
Frank, you'll handle that.
When Jerry and I, we visited the site on Tuesday, I think we were both concerned very seriously with the safety of that would-be basement apartment. And what immediately caught my eye is that there's only one entrance currently into that apartment, and it passes right by, you see,
But that's the window in the
That's what the
bedroom.
other window.
no, I'm talking about just in order to get into the ground floor apartment, there's currently only one way in and out.
Right.
And it happens to pass right alongside the boiler room for the building.
Right.
And it, boy, Jerry can confirm, it was so hot in there when we went in just a
But if
little
you had
bit.
But that's what that window's for.
But that's what the window's for.
Right, well, that's what I'm leading up to. If we can improve the safety of that apartment by putting in, making this a condition of the
No,
approval.
no, you can't do that, that only comes up, when it comes up to the building level, we handle it
That's
for
not for
permits.
us.
I thought-
Frankie won't let him get a CO if he doesn't meet the code for that window.
So there's gonna have to be changes anyway,
It has to be,
mandatory,
whether
by
we want it or not.
The one
Frankie's
window
not,
or both windows?
just the one.
bedroom window, right, Frank?
Just the bedroom.
Well, I'm asking Frank.
Yes, I believe just the bedroom now,
Yeah, I thought so too.
until I get a full set of floor plans, well.
Okay.
Is the change of the window our
No.
domain, or is it Frank's?
No, that's mine,
Your-
yours is only the window sill, the height
And the
is
outside.
12 inches, other than that, we handle it with
And
the
we're
fire
leaning
code.
toward granting relief, as I hear it, on that window sill issue.
I suggest
I
we
think
go.
so.
That's fine.
That's it for me. I don't know if
Any
anybody
other
else.
member of the board wish to mention anything?
Just 5 affirmative votes will be needed to approve. In the event the board wants to approve this, we do 5 votes.
Was it the application?
For the 2 D
Density.
variances, right, Lou?
Pardon?
We got 2 D variances, correct?
Well, yeah, but they, each one
Density
is,
and the
needs
conditional,
yeah, it would be the conditional for the sill and D for density.
right,
But 5 votes will.
right, absolutely.
Okay.
Motion to approve with enlisting conditions.
Motion made by Mr. Caruso, Mr. Valado, seconded by Mr. Caruso.
with the listed conditions.
with the listed conditions. Can we read the listed
I don't know if
conditions?
we have,
The only thing I asked for, and you guys disagreed, was that one additional parking spot. I don't think it's really much to ask for.
It's there, it's there.
But it's not open to people. You told me there's 5 spots.
There's 5 in the back,
Right, I want the other one to be able to be used as well.
the one in the front.
Yeah. I mean, don't you
Oh,
understand?
where the garage is, well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It can be used, but it should be
And I
used
made-
by the superintendent.
That's what I said.
Yes.
Why don't we make him stripe the lot to,
Huh?
Right,
let him
yes.
stripe the lot in the back?
Stripe the lot and
For the
make
tenants,
the
1, 2, 3, 4,
I
5, or
believe
whatever.
it is striped.
Is it striped?
It is striped. I
It is
remember it
striped?
being
Right,
striped.
go back, striped.
That's how I counted the spaces.
Okay, and just make the other one for super. And then-
Yeah, the one with the garage should be restricted to the super who lives on the ground floor. It's that simple.
Wherever he lives, I don't care where he lives. I'm not gonna say
They do
it's,
use that front driveway periodically. Different people use it for dropping off groceries or grandmothers or whatever.
Well, then we shouldn't designate anything if we want to
I
do it
think we
that
should
way.
leave.
Only to placate Mr. Valano's concern.
I would leave it as is. I don't think, everything's gone okay since 1976 or 77. Leave it the way it is.
if you guys feel that strong about it,
I don't think it should be restricted to anybody. If it does, it should only be to the guy who can get his stuff out of the garage to clean up the driveways and stuff, that's
That's
all.
what you just said.
I said that 4 times.
I know,
It's
but
pretty hard.
if
I know
they're
it's
saying
hard to
there's
hear-
no
it's
reason
hard
to
hear me.
restrict it, they
I
can
know.
still get out,
I know.
that's it.
I'll say that maybe it's my pitch, that's what it is. It's my pitch.
other than our normal
Let me
conditions,
say,
there are no specifics with this. Frank will handle whatever needs to be handled from construction.
And that has to be cleared up for any permits that are
Yes,
needed
yes, that's-
within 2 years,
Right.
that's all.
Yeah, they did a site plan in this too.
Actually, it needs to be done quicker than that because there's somebody living there.
Okay.
All right,
We have a motion and a second to grant.
yes. Clerk, call the roll.
Caruso.
Yeah.
Giordano.
Yes.
Casa.
Yes.
Lozo. Yes. Sheldon.
Yes.
Valado.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes, approved 7-0.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sheldon,
It's like 2 cases, now we have the third.
the point you were trying to make about
There's another means to get out in and out of that apartment, should there ever be a fire. No, I was just, there was no door person to get in and out, there's a sole ingress egress situation. I wanted another means to get in and out of the apartment, but according to what Frank told us, it's his office, right, he will make sure that the window, we don't have.
Anybody who's done, goodbye. We want to get rid of this last case. ZB 2017-13, that's 013. 44 Tappan Avenue, Lenx Asset Services Limited Liability Corporation or company, either one. The applicant is seeking certification of a non-conforming use to continue to use the property as a 3-family dwelling. Okay? Mr. Gassion, I assume you are handling this case?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you may proceed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, council's name is Robert Gassion. The firm is Gassion Palaco, 524 Union Avenue in Belleville. I represent the applicant in this matter, Links Asset Services LLC. Links is the owner of 44 Tappan Ave. The subject property was constructed in 1908 and has been continuously used as a 3-family at a minimum since 1952. Mr. Di Lorenzo's letter reflects its tax as a 3 since 1952. The 1937 ordinance permitted 3 families, and the 3-family was prohibited as of 1955 at the ordinance change. Mr. Alfieri of Links will testify with regard to the tax records, price and lien, etc. I'd like to call Mr. Alfieri as my witness.
Will that be your case, Mr. Gassion? Just
My only case.
very good. Could you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, so help you God?
Yes, it is.
Could you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Michael Alfieri, A-L-F-I-E-R-I.
Thank you.
Mr. Alfieri, what's your business address?
30 Freneau, that's F-R-E-N-E-A-U Avenue in Matawan, New Jersey.
Your occupation?
I'm an attorney.
Are you seeking a certification as a three-family for 44 Tappan in Belleville?
Yes, we are.
And when did you purchase that property?
We purchased it in November of 2011.
Are you familiar with any history of the property?
Yes, when we purchased the property, we believed it to be a three-family based upon the tax bills that we would get. We had a tax search that indicated it was a three-family. And we also had Division of Community Affairs, which when we buy a property, we get an open request, and we had a Division of Community Affairs letter that indicated that it was a three-family. So we always believed it to be a three-family.
And are you aware that there's 3 electric meters at the property?
There are.
And are there also 3 gas meters?
Yes, there are.
And did I show you Price and Lee records from Belleville that reflect that since 1948 up until 1972, when the Price and Lee records ceased to exist, it was used as a three-family?
Yes, we reviewed those together, and it indicated that it was a three-family.
And have you had 3 tenants in the property since you purchased it?
Since we purchased it, we've had the same 3 tenants in the property, and it's been a three-family, 3 separate tenants in the building since that time.
And how did it come about that you found out the records did not reflect in the construction official's office that it was a legal three-family?
We entered into a contract to sell the property to Mr. Alberti, who's here today, and during the contract negotiations, we contacted and said, they told us that it was not a three-family, that the town said it was a two-family. So we went through our records and we reviewed everything. We pulled out the tax search and we pulled out the community affairs and our open request, and everything indicated it was a three-family. So I personally went to the town, to see Mr. DiLorenzo, and he was gracious enough to meet with me and show me that although it was taxed as a three-family, that the records in the board or the town did not show it as a three, but they showed it as a two. So I asked what we had to do. He said that I had to get an attorney and come before the board, which I did, and now we're here today requesting respectfully that we get this granted as a three-family.
And does the application have all of the relevant documentation in conjunction with the zoning ordinance and the tax records and the price and Lee attached to that application?
Yes, it does.
I have no further questions of this witness, Mr. Chair.
Any questions by members of the
Yeah,
board?
I do.
Go ahead, Mr.
When you
Moore.
closed in 2011, no CO?
We took it by virtue of foreclosure. We owned the mortgage and we foreclosed, so the 3 tenants that were in there, we inherited those 3 tenants and they're still in there.
So there's no CO?
He came in, the bank was foreclosing.
Got it, I'm there.
He bought the bank's position.
Or the bank.
So then he completed the foreclosure, so there never was a circumstance where he went for a C of O. He's not a land use lawyer, he's a lawyer. He checked the tax records, assumed it was a three-family, checked the multiple housing inspection certificate, and
Okay, I got it now.
didn't know it wasn't a three-family until it came time to sell.
Good to know.
I'll let him explain it. So he did explain it, that he talked to Mr. DiLorenzo, and that's how he found out it
I
wasn't a
just would
three-family.
I would never visualize that scenario. I mean, I know that, I always go to Franklin's office, but I would have never thought when you buy a position from the bank, there is no CO involved. I didn't know that.
No, in fact, to answer Ms. Brown, to answer your question, the appraisal on the property showed as a three-family. The tax search showed it. So there was no way that any person that's not familiar with this property specifically would ever know. Like, there would no way of us to know that.
Okay, I got you. Okay, that's it.
Can I ask a question? This property, where is it located? Is it between Union Avenue and Washington Avenue?
Washington and Floyd, I believe.
I believe Washington and Florida.
Located between Floyd and Floyd.
So it's above Washington Avenue?
It's above Washington. That I know.
And it's below Union Avenue?
Below Union.
Now, Mr. Gassion, I'm a little confused because you attached the 1937 ordinance, am I correct?
Correct.
And I'm looking at the map that comes with it. And the map that comes with it says that's a B residence zone. And in the ordinance, it says a B residence zone is no more than 2 family.
No, that's not what it says.
Well,
You can have any number of, there was no density issue until 1955.
well, I didn't say about density. I'm saying regulation use, this is on page 2. This is 2 pages past the map. Number 12. And it defines a residence zone and a B residence zone. A residence zone is a one dwelling for one family or one housekeeping unit only. In B residence zones, in addition to the uses permitted in A residence zones, a dwelling detached or semi-attached, but not more than 2 families or 2 housekeeping units. That's what's in the ordinance. I'm reading your ordinance. Take your time.
Are you sure you're not reading the 1955 ordinance?
You only have the 37.
No. There's also the 55 ordinance.
Well, where's the 55 ordinance start? Oh, I'm sorry, it's the 55 ordinance. You're right. It's the 55 ordinance. Okay,
Never mind.
never mind. I spotted it, but I didn't realize it was 2 pages before 7.
Okay, can we go back to where we were?
So where does it say in the 13 ordinance that...
In the 37 ordinance, there was no restriction on number of units. There was no density requirement. That's been brought before this board historically, untold times.
And it didn't change until 70.
50, well, then there was a change after that. There was a first change was 55. Most places weren't changed in 55. This place, this location was. 77 was the latest one that really tightened things up.
And so from what I'm looking at, and what you put together, we pre-exist all of them.
Yeah.
We'll pre-exist all of them.
Yeah.
I see no problem.
I mean, to sum it up for me, between 1948 and 1952, this became a 3-family, a continuous 3-family
Well, I don't know
up
if
to
it was
today.
before 48. It might have been before 48. My only
Still,
proof
the tax
is
system says it was
Let's say
picked up in
let's say prior to
52.
1955.
Yeah.
Prior to 1955 was 3-family. It's a 3-family now. There have been no gaps, no abandonment,
No.
and that's...
Not to the information to me.
Okay.
And again, I've got the Price and Lee, and I've got my client's
I look
testimony.
at price and lien that he provided, it goes back to 42. I'm not saying that is a full proof,
Okay.
like the tax rate is, but we know at least from residency, it goes back to 42.
Okay. Gentlemen, is there any other witnesses?
No.
Yes, is there a member of the public who wishes to question the applicant? Comment? So if you have no more witnesses, I'll open it to the public then. Okay, yes ma'am. Come right up, and so that way you're on video, you give us our name, that way everybody knows who you are.
Good evening. My name is...
She's going to give testimony, she said.
Yes, I do.
Okay. With regard to this application, do you swear that your comments will be the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can you state your name and spell your last name, and please speak up?
My name is Yvonne, Y-V-O-N-N-E, Bowers, B-O-W-E-R-S.
Okay, thank you.
And I would like to submit this Les Penders as evidence that this case is in litigation, this property is in litigation at this moment.
What do you mean litigation?
Dry run for me for the Supreme Court.
Regarding what? The litigation
Regarding this property
I mean, what,
that leases now.
is it a tenancy? Is it,
I'm the previous owner who
okay,
the home is taken from.
okay.
So I don't want to get into legalities and situations,
So,
but I just wanted to make sure that the zoning board knows that this has been a three-family house since I bought it in 1994, and it's a family house. We've lived in it for 23 years. My son, my daughter, my nephew graduated from Belleville High. My nephew was on 14.
so,
I currently have a niece.
so the question for you is,
Yes.
is your testimony that, as far as you know, it's always been a three-family?
Yes, always when I bought it.
That's really all we're concerned about.
That's all we're concerned.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And this is now still in the courts?
yes, and this is evidence here. It's a
Okay,
listing.
nothing that, we can proceed and that won't affect what the Superior
Oh,
Courts
okay,
do
all
or
right,
not
I'll
do.
keep it then.
You mentioned that the Supreme Court?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we have the
I mean.
clout to.
No, all we're ruling
We're
on is
aware.
what it's
Testimony
legally, that's
was-
all we're
Yeah.
ruling on.
Yeah.
Not whether who owns it or anything like that.
Oh, okay, all
It has
right.
nothing to do with that. Anybody wish to cross-examine Mr. Gassion?
Was it given the attorney?
No.
Oh, you want me to? No, I don't have any questions.
Any members of the public wish to cross-examine? Any members of the board wish to cross-examine? None, okay. Any other member of the public wish to give testimony on this application? None. Do you wish to,
May I make one more
what,
comment?
Mr.
Oh,
Sheldon?
I just have a comment to make.
One more comment. Mr. Alfredo was saying that he realized it was not registered with Belleville as a three-family, but it's always been a three-family because he was searching with a buyer, a prospect buyer. I'd like to say if that buyer is anywhere in here, if you buy it, you're being put on notice right now that this
Yes.
property is in litigation.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
What we do does not affect that.
No.
We're just here to determine whether it's just.
So what you're saying is you're challenging the foreclosure. That's what you're challenging.
In court.
In court, that's all.
Thank
It's on the record, no problem.
Okay.
Mr. Shelton, you
Yes,
have
I
a
just wanted to make one comment. About a month ago, I was able to do a site visit of this building. I had noticed before entering that there were 4 doorbells on the front. And I realized that sometimes, just people have a problem with one doorbell and put another one, don't take down one of the broken ones. But I was able to get into the basement, and I can confirm there are 3 water heaters, there are 3 meters, consistent with what Mr. Gassion said earlier. But what did concern me is that in the basement, there is a existing full bathroom. There is a toilet, lavatory, and a walk-in shower. Now, the rest of the bottom floor, the basement, looks like it is long since abandoned. When I walked down there, it was very dimly lighted. I kind of had a flashback to the last scene of Silence of the Lambs. But in any case, I did look around, but I was concerned about the existence of that bathroom. And what I wanted to ask Mr. Di Lorenzo if he had any record over the years of perhaps ordering an illegal basement apartment to be dismantled, or is that basement bathroom part of, well, it looks to my eyes like it was at some point a residence rather than a rec room, but there is a full bathroom still in place in the basement of that building.
Well, a full apartment, to be a dwelling unit, you have to have all the amenities, the full bathroom, the kitchen, and the bedroom, and if he has that, then it'll be an apartment. If the bathroom's illegal, you have any permits for it, that's another story.
Do you have any knowledge of ever intervening and ordering a basement apartment to be dismantled for that premise?
No, not offhand. It might be in the old records that I did something, I don't remember. offhand. But we'll check it now as he comes in.
If you could, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are the ones that- Okay, gentlemen, your pleasure.
Thank you, Ms. Barros.
Okay.
Motion to approve is a pre-existing non-conforming use as three-family, correct? Do I get a second? Seconded by, motion made by Mr. Caruso, seconded by Mr. Giordano. Clerk, call the roll.
Caruso. Giordano.
Yes.
Casa.
Yes.
Lozoff. Yes. Sheldon.
Yes.
Milano.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes, approved 7-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Did he respond to that letter?
I know he talked to Mr. Rego, and he was supposed to get this done first.
I'm sorry. Tell him hello.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
A lot of things can be fun.
The question is, from what Mr. Rego told me, you called him and you were sending that to your client.
And I did.
And what happened?
And they told me that they do not intend to build it at this time. It's up for sale, and they will completely disclose the circumstance to any potential buyer. They do not yet have a buyer. I do not represent them. They did send me a draft contract that some lawyer has prepared, but they don't have a real buyer. It's a blank contract. They did send me the listing agreement. There's been no misrepresentations that I can see within that
The
document.
listing said there was an approval for 2 families upstairs.
Not the listing I see.
Well, that's the listing I saw.
Caldwell Banker listing said it was approved for 2 apartments.
And that there was a multiple,
Multiple, 3-car garage on the premise.
and also the other thing about the driveway, that it was being shared. You can't share without an easement, legally.
The listing he gave me, I'll submit. I have no idea about what listing you reviewed. That's what he provided me late today, together with a form contract that's really inconsequential.
That's not the one we had. This is a 30. Well, then
On September 7th.
if he's not looking to move on with this, why does he want to give up the resolution?
The resolution is in existence. He has a right to have the resolution remain in existence.
Well, then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask him, and the board should send a notice to ask him to appear at our next meeting to put on the record what he intends to do. I want that because,
you have a right to do
well,
that.
Mr.
So that's up to
Gassion,
you.
he's not, you're not representing him,
Well, I
so.
represent him on this land use case, I don't represent him on this sale.
Well, let's put it this way. The land use case, he has now put it up for sale. And we saw, and I read it, where he said that it was an approval, a shared driveway. So, I don't know if he's changed it, but I would like on record to say things have changed. Because I do not like the way he did things.
I think before you talk about that, you probably should get that document and put it in, that he said he's got an approval for that, and what it's exactly said.
Well, all we have to do is print it off our computer.
Yeah.
We all have it. Mr. Shelton has it, I have it. All it's got to do is be printed out. And we'll show it to him when he comes next month. So I think we should direct Mr. Rego to send him a letter asking him to appear before us
Please
at the
make
next
sure
meeting.
that letter is directed to him. I'd like a copy, but I don't want it directed to me.
No, okay, we'll direct it to him.
Bob, has he given you any explanation as to why he and his father can't just get together and?
Because if there was an easement, we would never have a problem.
The explanation he gave me was,
Even if he got the easement, it doesn't mean he has to build it. He can just satisfy the conditions and he sits on it until probably.
Otherwise he doesn't need the approval if he's looking to sell it the way it is.
His father doesn't want to give up the rights to the driveway. That's what
Why not?
From a stranger.
Why, if he doesn't want to build, then we take it away.
He doesn't perfect it, he can't build.
Yeah, he doesn't do what he has to do. He can get
The
that.
thing
I'm not
is,
gonna get into an argument.
No.
I'm not.
Is his address on the file? In the file? His home
If
address?
not, I'll get it for you. But the father lives in that building right there.
Yeah, no, I mean, your client.
Son, I'm not sure.
Andrew.
Yeah. But I talked to him today, so I'm sure I get his address.
Okay.
I don't know what
Are we done painting
once
dead
it's on
horse here?
record, that's the end of the problem.
We have a more or less a resolution.
Because he doesn't have to do anything, if we just,
No, you don't.
the conditions were.
But maybe he doesn't want to spend the money. He's not
Next
gonna
meeting, I would be.
Well, if he's not going to build, then what does he need the variance for?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, good.
is there any benefit to us continuing with this?
No.
Thank you.
Why is there no benefit?
No, I think believe me, we've gone as far as we can tonight.
That's
Oh,
my,
But what I'm saying is, I think we should send a letter to the applicant and tell him to appear at the next meeting to discuss with us what he intends to do. I mean, if he asked for the variance, we granted him the variance. If he doesn't want to do anything, then let us know. And there's no reason to keep a variance he does not intend to use.
you support that? You're an attorney now, you're a zoning board attorney. So I don't care if Jerry's sitting next to you, you're the zoning board attorney. You support that position, yes or no?
Well, based on the letter he sent.
No, that's not, no.
My advice.
The letter we all support.
And there's no, we discussed this last month, and my advice has always been that we do now, and we always will retain the right. We have the leverage, because unless he complies with those conditions, he can do nothing with the property. And my suggestion was always just let it be, and let it
be and he'll hang himself, because if he
let it
sells
wilt
it
on the
like that,
vine was the expression I used. If he doesn't do anything, it's over. But what I would rather the board not do is to get into a contest with him, because we don't know. The fact that an applicant who gets approval sells a piece of property happens every day. And we should not take offense to that. If he doesn't want to comply with the conditions, that's his problem. He can't do anything with the property, and if 2 years passes, it goes away.
And if he tries to sell it to somebody, when he gets to the bottom line, he's not gonna be able to sell it anyway, because it's not gonna meet those conditions, so he's not gonna.
And if he does not disclose, then he has a problem, so.
Yeah, then he's
So let me
gonna
ask you something, if he does not disclose, what happens?
Buyer can sue him, or the buyer will back
If he does not disclose and a buyer, based on whatever representations were made, goes to build, Frank says, you can't build because you need to comply with all these conditions. If he can't comply with the conditions, he has to come in here and we have control.
But we don't want him to come in
And the
here.
buyer
Well,
can sue the previous owner for.
Can the buyer sue the previous owner, yes or no?
Yes.
So if the
That's what
previous
that
owner disappears, can he sue?
There's ways to do
There's a
that.
bunch of what ifs, we can't go through that, I mean, we're.
I'd rather
we don't
not-
have control of that.
I'd rather not bring him back and keep grinding it. Just let it go away. Let it wither.
All right, now let me ask you one more question. If nothing is done within 2 years of the approval, can it then be declared back to its original use? Yes or no?
Yes. I mean, we put in our resolutions, you have to do something within 2 years. There may be an issue and with the preliminary site plan approval, but the answer to your question is yes. After 2 years, that may go away. The relief that we've given him.
May or will?
That will, but if the zone doesn't, yes, it will go away. Let me answer it that way. I just assume let it go. That's my way of thinking. We retain the leverage. We always have.
Our enforcement right now is Frankie, period. That's our enforcement, not us. Frankie is our enforcement.
What's Mr. Rita going to tell us? He's not going to do it. We really are not in a good position to take it away, because there are many applicants. How many applicants have we approved that either fail after 6 months? The AmeriWash, we had the Gold Mine company, or they don't do it, and we never know about it, but they don't get approval. Or something like this. Let's just let it go. I know the board feels
And he already lost, he paid for an attorney to get it done, and he's not doing it.
I know some of you feel that he pulled the wool over our eyes, but I don't think so. It's just he doesn't want to go ahead with it.
It doesn't matter if he did. He can't do anything.
Exactly.
At all. Well, we're beating a dead horse here.
You're right. Just let it go. We don't need him back.
It's up to Frank.
You got it.
That's it.
Any other members of the board?
I think it's Bob's fault, but that's.
Yeah, what about Bob? Why not?
He's never gonna get over
Let's
over
just.
on you on it. It's just,
He knows how
he's gotta do what he's gotta do.
He knows how we
He doesn't-
feel. Because we sent the letter, Bob sent it to him. And
That's it.
if he doesn't want to move ahead, he doesn't move ahead. If someone buys it, it's their problem. They can sue him, they can't do anything with us, but they can sue him.
Well, they can appear before us, and then he's
Oh,
gonna apply
yes.
the blues. He's gonna
Well-
say it's a hardship and all this other
Well,
nonsense.
then we have another bite of the apple. So,
Can we do memorialization?
Huh?
Can we do the memorializations?
So we can go home?
Yes,
Thank you.
the two cases you wrote up.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, you think I'm bad?
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Matter of Dr. Ashraf Shihab, 145 Park Avenue, application ZB 2017, left. Caruso,
Yes.
Sheldon,
Yes.
Casa,
Yes.
Lozowa, Yes. Milano,
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes.
Matter of Golda Corporation, 73 Rucker Street, application ZB 2017-012. Caruso,
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Casa.
Yes.
Lozowa. Yes. Milano.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. To adjourn.